Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and I'm hoping you're ready for your Saturday night delight. It's time for your Geek Culture 411 with me, the D-Man, and my good friend Skip and Tosh. How you doing, Skip?
Man, doing all right, man. Always a fun time to talk about some news in the world of geekdom. So let's jump into it.
Yep, it's time for your Geek Culture, your movie news, and your comic industry news. First topic. Following AMC banning Universal films from theaters, Regal and Cineworld followed suit, warning the studio to back off releasing new movies video on demand during theatrical release. You back in Universal or theaters in this showdown, Skip?
Man, this is a tough one, but I'm going to back the theaters. I'm partial to theaters. I enjoy the theater experience. I'm going and seeing some of my favorite movies with other people that are excited about it. Is always something that just excites me, and there's nothing else like it. No movie that I've watched that that are like in my top 5 that I've seen in the theaters, the experience wasn't the same at home. Now, as far as, the methods and everything and their stance, I get it. Technology is where it is, and people are getting more options to watch movies at home. Going to theaters are expensive, especially if you're like Wes and I and you have a family. You take what you pay for the movies, popcorn and entry, and then you multiply that by 3 or 4. It gets ridiculous. But if there's an understanding, and you're supposed to respect those boundaries of that understanding, of that agreement, then I think you should do so. And I think that the people, especially the main person over at Universal, got a little too excited still about the Trolls revenue. Where again, if you look at the money, and if you look at the breakdown of what they spent, including marketing, they haven't profited off of the movie yet. Again, it's just making more than everybody expected, and they're trying to basically get a more favorable cut from the movie theaters. They didn't say they're not going to show movies there anymore. We got to keep that in context. But Wes, whose side are you on, Universal or the movie theaters?
Well, I am always on the side of the consumer. So in this case, I got to back Universal. I think customer having more choice as to where they want to watch their movies and how they want to view them is best for everybody. And I think in the end, the customer is always right. If they want to offer certain movies like a Trolls World Tour video on demand day one for $20, or you can go to the movie theater, I think that's good for customers. You can stay home, maybe spend a little bit less depending on the size of your family. Or if you want to take your gal out to go see Trolls World Tour, for date night, you have that option as well. So I think Universal is right. They made a lot of money. The cut obviously is different. They're not having to give so much of their profits over to the theaters and things like that. Not every movie needs to be released in a theater, and not every movie is enhanced by the theatrical experience. I don't think Trolls World Tour would be any better being in a theater or being in my house. It's a kids movie. Sure, there's music and stuff like that, but I'm not going to like it. I have to suffer through it anyways. Might as well be on my couch. So do I still want to? Would I want to see the next Fast and Furious movie in the theater or in my house? Yes, I want to see that in the theater, maybe even on IMAX, depending on how excited I am for it. So, it all depends on the movie, but the customer having choice, I think, is always the right thing in the end. We have an evolving industry, whether it be comic books, whether it be movies, and anything that benefits the customer, in my mind, is the best. So I'm firmly on Team Universal.
Absolutely. We'll continue to watch this one because depending on how this goes, this could be pretty big, but progress will be progress. All right. Walking out of the movie theaters or out of your living room theater and then back into the comic book arena, IDW is releasing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, a 5-part, never-before-seen story from the original creative duo of Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. How excited are you for this previously unreleased comic?
All right, so I'm on a scale of Age of X-Man to House of X Powers of 10. I'm on a House of X Powers of 10. This is like off the charts excited. Are you kidding me? The original creative team of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a never before released story called TMNT: The Last Ronin, featuring a turtle brother we never knew even existed, and he uses all the weapons of the turtles. I couldn't be more excited. This thing is going to be dope. It's going to be off the hook. I will definitely be buying all 5 issues. I don't care that they're $8 or $9 each. because I'm super excited. I think this is awesome. This is, I hope Marvel and DC find some of these like hidden gems that they forgot to release. I remember last year we got Man and Superman from Marv Wolfman. It was the best Superman story we've gotten, since Bendis took over. It was just an amazing addition to the Superman lore. I think this is going to do the same for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm not really enjoying the TMNT run right now, and this is what I'm looking forward to the most. Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, back together again on a story they already completed a long time ago, and it'll be color this time, so it's going to be badass. Couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. The trope of the missing so-and-so is something that, can get played out, but ultimately it's all in the execution. And it's the original team of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it's going to be more gritty, more grimy. It's going to be a really interesting story. Come on, using all the weapons, like of all the turtles, it's going to be pretty badass. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty excited. And I'll definitely be reading this run along with everybody else that's into TMNT.
All right, Skip. The other shoe finally dropped. Sony announced Spider-Man 3 is delayed until November 2021, causing Marvel Studios to push back Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Thor: Love and Thunder. Is the MCU Phase 4 finally set in stone?
The only stones in the MCU are the Infinity Stones. Anything else outside of that is definitely able to be moved around still. We'll see. It's going to come really down to where we end up after the global event that's happening right now. But, it's interesting to see it shift again. In this case, it's a little tricky because, Spider-Man 3... Spider-Man period as a character is still linked over to Sony. So you got two studios who have two sets of, independent movies. Not independent movies, but movies that, that they're producing themselves, and then one that they're producing together. And since they're linked, when one shifts, the other kind of has to do a little dance too. So I think this might be I think we're closer to what might be the final movie dates for this slate of movies. But at the same time, like I said, it's really going to depend on, where we are in the next, I'd say within the next 3 to 6 months. But Wes, are you feeling like these are going to be the dates where everybody's going to return to the movie theaters and actually watch some of our favorite comic book movies?
Well, I think it all depends on how people react to the market when the theaters start opening up. When Black Widow, finally debuts, are the theaters going to be packed? They're certainly expecting at least like an $800 million box office off of something like that. If it comes in at like 200 and 250, do you really want to chance it having some of these other MCU movies coming right behind it, or do you want to give a little space before people are comfortable going back into the theater again? So I don't really think so. And I also thought it was really interesting, Spider-Man 3, obviously it's a Sony property, but within the MCU, but there are two other movies that are tied into that Spider-Man, that film, with Venom, Let There Be Carnage, as well as the Morbius project that they're doing over at Sony. And those are going to be tied into that character. So I found it interesting that we're seeing the MCU Marvel Studios having to react to another studio and kind of let them lead the dance. So I thought that was interesting, but absolutely not. I don't think this is set in stone, and everything is to be determined as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then we also have to, the nice thing about when the studios do open again is that the Russo brothers discussed playing Infinity War and Endgame back in the theaters to kind of get people back in there. Now that can go both ways, obviously, because they profit off of that too. But I do think that's an interesting and nice gesture. So I like a nice little thing on the side to look forward to when things start. I don't want to say return back to normal, but as things progress. And then from DC or MCU over to DC. Flash producer Eric Wallace claims The Flash Season 6 is borrowing from the current Flash writer Joshua Williamson's comic run. Will this create a gateway from the CW for the CW viewers to the comic shops, Wes?
how are they gonna know? What are they gonna? Is there gonna be a commercial in the middle of season 6's Flash? It's like, hey, this is borrowed from Joshua Williamson's current Flash run. Nobody watching on the CW is ever gonna like infer that or even realize that. The only people that are gonna know that story in season 6 or even some of the elements of the season are directly related to the comic book that we've been reading are comic readers or people that view like CBR and Newsarama. So I love the gesture. I think it's great. You know, it would be amazing if we tied more of the current continuity into some of these shows that have big audiences and try to grow the comic readership. But how are they going to do that? Like, if the people don't know where the information came from or know where they can go and find the rest of the story, it benefits nobody. So unless there's a mechanism to tell people where this came from or how they can get more of it, it kind of seems all for naught.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there would literally have to be something like, and if you enjoyed these characters, go check out the comic book, blah, blah, blah. And it's so weird that even within comic book related content on large networks, still seems like the words comic book are dirty words, you know? So I don't know. I'm with you, Wes. I mean, unless they literally highlight it or say it, and it can't even be an Easter egg because like the average viewer, the average person who watches this doesn't, you know, like most of them don't read comics. We, you know, in our world of, you know, doing content on YouTube, Twitch, and, you know, reading articles, sometimes we forget in our bubble and we forget that not everybody consumes, you know, comic books that watches this stuff. So like you said, unless they really, really make an effort to point it out, unfortunately, it's not gonna lead back to any readers. I mean, going back to MCU, if the highest grossing movie of all time, you know, barely makes a dent and, you know, bringing in more comic book readers, then I don't see any CW show really helping that much. But any help that we could get, I mean, I'm hoping for the best, like especially where the comic book industry is as of now. That would really be nice if we can get some more people in here.
Yeah, just a few notes on that, and we'll get to the next subject. Just think about this. Infinity Gauntlet was not one of the top 10 selling graphic novels for 2019, even though it was directly tied to and related to the top grossing movie in the history of the industry. Also, when you go to an MCU film, when they do the Marvel Studios logo, you don't even see comic book pages anymore. You just see scenes from the movies because comic books are kind of an afterthought. It's really sad if you think about it that way, but it's true. I'm sorry, Skip.
Yeah, you know, you're right.
So we're sticking with DC shows here. Geoff Johns' Mad Ghost Productions will be producing HBO Max's upcoming live-action Green Lantern TV show. Which Geoff Johns' Green Lantern story should the series be based on?
To me, oh man, that is really tough. I mean, for me, especially since it's the most current one that I've read any of, and it was really good, I would say Venditti's run. But at the same time, it kind of brings you into it, you know, in a time that, you know, may not make sense to people, but who better to, you know, if they both of them are great writers, obviously, like of the Flash. So, I mean, of the Green Lantern. So I think if you're going to adapt it, who better than Geoff Johns to kind of take some of the beginning and then make it make sense to people as an intro and then, you know, go ahead and continue it the rest of the way. But, I mean, any of Geoff Johns' runs would be great. And he's right there to adapt it to make sure that it goes over correctly. Overall, though, I'm still just kind of gun shy about a Green Lantern show, and not just because of the movie. I'm really interested on how people will take that character now. It just, I don't know, seems like a character that people would struggle with unless they really, really, really knock this out of the park. But Wes, what do you think? Which run do you think would be a good one for them to start with? I think
Boulder Dash. There's plenty of great stuff to be adapted. Don't think about that movie. That movie was terrible. There are plenty of great Geoff Johns stories to adapt. The one thing that I don't want a Hal Jordan origin story again. So let's move out Green Lantern Rebirth. I don't even want his reintroduction. Just go straight to Sinestro Corps War. It's one of the best Green Lantern stories ever told. Super exciting. one of probably the best Green Lantern villain ever, Sinestro, and his yellow, his army of yellow, powered by the yellow. God damn it, his army powered by the yellow, by fear. God, whatever. That's the one you go to. I'm too excited. I can't even speak right now. But that's definitely the story to go with. And then, hey, if it really takes off, maybe you can throw a little extra coin in the budget, and we can finally get up to maybe Blackest Night, which would be the dream project that I would love to see on the little screen, but more appropriate for the big screen. But it's got to be Sinestro Core War. That's the sweet spot, if you ask me.
I see that my Sinestro Core ring, my fear ring, was having an effect on you, Wes.
That's how much power of fear. What am I? It's like I couldn't speak.
That it is that powerful. Yeah. So we'll see how it all pans out. But still, I am excited about it. I just love Geoff Johns. And then we are coming back over to comics and some relief for comics. Thus far, the hashtag Creators for Comics movement has raised over $400,000 for local comic shops struggling due to coronavirus. What are your thoughts on this fundraising effort?
Well, I think it's amazing. It's a lot of effort been put in there. I believe it's over 100 creators did over 600 fundraising projects to get to that $400,000 number. It's an amazing achievement. Really going above and beyond to help out the industry and the retailers who are really struggling right now. And it's not like creators aren't struggling as well. There's a lot of them are pencils down. They don't have income right now because there's no comics to create. So it could have been very easy for them to maybe rally the troops and only support each other, but to go out of their way and sell a new art or old art and give it to these comic shops that that literally have no income now as well. It was just extremely generous. Job well done. I think we probably need to look into Bink a little bit more because some of the numbers seem a little bit off as far as the amount of charitable donations that actually get back into the that go to the recipients that are supposed to get them. But it seems like this has been done very well, and $400,000 is nothing to sneeze at. You combine that with the $250,000 DC has done, and just job well done. And I couldn't be more proud to be a part of an industry like this.
I agree. This is, as much contention as we see from, what seems like, warring factions, from a smaller and a larger level, to see everybody, come around, gather around and support, comic book shops is great, man. It's one of the redeeming things. Sometimes when I'm, thinking about comics in the industry and all of this stuff, we keep the people informed, we bring the people news, but sometimes, frankly, I'm just like, gosh, can all y'all just put your crap aside and can we just focus on comic books? If there's no comic books, we wouldn't be here bickering anyway. But to see stuff like this, it gives me hope. It refreshes me, rejuvenates me. And, I know, 3 local comic book shops that I, shop at that are struggling right now. So, it inspires me to continue to do what I can, my own personal efforts to help support them as well. But, kudos to everybody who gave, who provided in any way that they could to help out with the local comic shops. I can't imagine, what it feels like to receive some of these funds as a comic book shop that's struggling. Just the relief, would be incredible. And hopefully it inspires them to continue to go in there every day and make their shops the best that they can so they can continue to serve us, the comic book consumer and customer.
Very well said, my good friend Skip. I guess that basically wraps it up for today. We covered all the topics. I hope everyone enjoyed the show. Skip, do you have anything to say before we sign off?
No, just thank you to everybody who's been tuning in live, for Wes doing interviews, for me reading comics and playing games over on the Thinking Critical Twitch channel. We are only a few viewers away from our current goal, which is 50 followers. So if you can come over there, if you're on Twitch, give us a follow. If you have an Amazon account, it's easy to set up too if you don't. And check us out over there. We're doing some fun stuff that doesn't quite fit YouTube. So go over there and enjoy that content. And we really appreciate everybody that's been showing up and supporting us there. So thank you.
Indeed. Salamapo. We're out.